Good afternoon, everybody. I wanted to give a brief kind of update about what is going on the ground and what this looks like for so many of our Kentucky families right now. I have the governor and I have tried to divide and conquer in a way that would make sure that we could have access to all the different areas there that were in so much need to be able to cover the most ground that we could in the least amount of time. And so I started my damage surveillance in Ohio County. And I think we have a few pictures here of our time on the ground in Ohio County. I was joined by several good folks. We have Representative Scott Lewis and Suzanne Miles were able to join me there. I was able to have a great conversation with emergency management and Judge Johnson in Ohio County. They took me through some of the most damaged areas. There's Judge Johnson right there, and showed me what they needed and what kind of damage they were looking at. I think next up is the first responders and some of the folks who joined us on that tour through the county to see some of the most damaged areas. And I have to tell you, the level of tree removal and debris removal from the roads that had already happened. I don't even really know how it was physically possible, but they said that they had people coming in shifts. So the work never stopped and folks were able to rest in the process. But the amount of debris that had been cleared from the roads that made it possible for our first responders and emergency management to get to where they needed to was certainly remarkable. Next, I went over to Muhlenberg County and was joined by, I believe it's Superintendent Davis was there. There he is, and Sheriff in the community, and Judge McGehee was with me as well. They took me all through the damaged areas to see exactly what was going on firsthand on the ground. And in Bremen, in the city of Bremen, they shared with me that there are about 300 people who live in the city limits. And we're talking about a county that suffered the loss of 11 people. And so these are people that they know, they are related to, they go to church and school with. I doubt that there were many people who didn't know or were related to someone who suffered a loss. Next up, this is one of them. The pictures don't do it justice. But what I want you all to understand, go back one to the school. This is me at the Bremen Elementary School with some of our folks. And what's so remarkable to me about that, we're hearing stories about support coming in from all across Kentucky, all across the country, and it's amazing. That was the next day. So all of those supplies, coats, shoes, that's half of the gym, by the way. So you can't even see the other half in this image. That's stuff that people from that community that didn't suffer such significant loss immediately came together to bring to folks who they knew had lost everything and lost so many things, and they were in such need. And that is directly from that community. So it's pretty amazing. Pretty amazing. Also, I went to Taylor County, and obviously Taylor County is not far west Kentucky. And so when you think about how far in this storm came and the damage that it did, we're there with emergency management, the magistrate, and the judge there in Taylor County. They took me through to see some of the damage. 70 homes in Taylor County, as far in as Campbellsville in the state, were destroyed. And we're talking really rural areas. So this is the work that was going on in the community almost immediately. And you can see the installation of power lines. You see the fence lines here that are really in some rubble. And I tell you, there's a story from Taylor County that just, it moved me. And Governor, when you talk about the ag component of this, especially in West Kentucky, it is the damage is immediate, but the rebuilding is going to be long-term. There's a gentleman in Taylor County right on that road. And I met his wife. I couldn't meet him because he had that morning to take 40 head of cattle, all of the cattle that he had, to the Springfield stockyards to sell them because all of his fence lines were gone. the roof had been pulled off of his barn. All of his grain had been exposed. The feed had been exposed. And so he had nothing to feed the cattle with, and couldn't even, be certain that he could keep them enclosed. And so he literally loaded up all 40, and took them to Springfield to sell them. His wife is telling me the story on the side of the road, where she's doing all of the work. It's freezing outside. She's sweating and crying. And the trauma was so raw in that moment that it was hard to imagine. She told me that as soon as the storm passed, her husband, who was the one that was off selling cattle, went next door, and their neighbors were in their basement. The house had collapsed in on top of them. And this gentleman literally pulled people out from under the rubble and saved their lives. Went down to the next neighbor's house. And for you from rural Kentucky, neighbors are not close. We've got space between us. And he went down to the next house and yelled for his neighbors. Same thing had happened. The house had caved in on them. Their houses are destroyed. And he heard his neighbor say, "We're down here, please don't leave us." And he didn't. And he was able to clear enough rubble on his own and pull these folks out and save their lives. And as his wife is telling me this story, she's talking so fast, and it's just all so new. And she's still, you can tell, in so much shock. And she mentioned a bus. And I said, what are you talking about, a bus? And she pointed up to the house and she said, "Well, now the school bus is behind the house. My husband is a bus driver for the school system." And it was in that moment that you realize that it's our everyday heroes that are stepping up, that they do God's work every day. But man, they are the angels that show up when we need them, Governor. And everybody from our local officials to neighbors, they don't need a title. They're helping their neighbors. Our local officials are right in the middle of it, helping people. The governor's leadership has been swift and compassionate, and the president's as well. And I'm just grateful that this is what you want to see from your neighbors, from your elected officials, when people that you know and love are hurting. And so as devastating as this damage is, and all of the images that we see coming out of this, man, the stories of neighbors helping neighbors, and of people across Kentucky coming together to support each other, it's remarkable. It is absolutely remarkable. And I want to thank the First Lady for the toy drive. You all know we're all parents first, and think about my little girl and her Christmas, and want to make sure that all of those little kids in Western Kentucky who have been through a traumatic experience have a ray of hope. And so thank you and the First Lady for putting that together. But look for the helpers as we dig through this damage and recover and rebuild. We've got folks all around us who are doing God's work, and they're compassionate, and we're very lucky. So thank you, Governor.
All right, so next up we have Director Dossett. I haven't mentioned that it wasn't a week ago that I had him here as our Team Kentucky All-Star, retiring after decades, sorry to do that to you, of service, instrumental in responding to COVID, to floods, to record ice storms. And that was just the last 2 years. Today, Director Dossett notified me that he's agreed to stay on long enough to get us on the right path. Now, listen, this man has done his duty for Kentucky, and we would have fully understood if he'd kept his original retirement date. But he is sticking with us, and we're grateful. Director Dossett.
Thank you, Governor, and thank you for your confidence in our team. I'll be very frank with you. During my entire career, I have been with teams, and we run to the fight, and we're in it to win this one. So I'm staying till we reach steady state. So a quick update, and I'll start with the power again. The power numbers are 18,500. We're making extraordinary progress for damage this significant across our Commonwealth. Now, that does not include Mayfield's Electric. That is just, it doesn't exist. So that will take weeks and months to rebuild. But overall, across the state, we're looking at really good numbers. And thanks to all the crews that were on the ground immediately, and to all the mutual aid crews that came in from other states. And talking about mutual aid, we will today post missions through EMAC, the Emergency Management Assistance Compact, where we will bring in crews from other states to help us in our EOC and to help manage some of the response out in the counties. So the good news is the electric utilities have restored 10,000 customers last night, mainly through TVA restoring power to Pennyrile and Warren RECC. The governor's been very helpful in watching that. A note of managing expectations. There is a difference between restoration and recovery. Restoration means we get things up where we can connect to a house and turn the power on. Recovery is a very different animal. Restoration is a temporary installation or something that gets customers back in service, and that's the need. Obviously, we're here during the winter months. It's cold outside in normal operations. So it's very different than recovery, and we ask you and all of our citizens to be patient as they go through that. First slide, please, James. This is just a picture of the swath of damage, and we've talked about this before. It is approximately, by National Weather Service's estimates, it's approximately 227 miles long, 200 plus as it enters Kentucky. These dots here are just the very first capture of 5,000 points of damage. And that was the immediate review for damage assessment. And that helped us part and parcel in getting the immediate emergency declaration that the governor asked for, and then the expedited declaration. So folks, via iPad and get them into the system immediately. We already have 1,800 families that have registered in the system, and that's just a small portion of what we expect. So you can see the ways we encourage you to get the word out as many times as possible. We have 2 FEMA incident management teams that are assisting with federal coordination efforts, and it's massive. It is just not FEMA that's in town. All of our allied and associated federal teams work under the FEMA umbrella and ultimately under the KYM umbrella. We sit over the top of all of it. So we have mobile emergency operations vehicles. These are basically vehicles that provide satellite and data in areas that we can get into that have no service. We have 4 FEMA urban search and rescue teams. As you can see, the main objective initially was the candle factory that actually ended in a very positive resolution and saving a lot of lives that we thought were in jeopardy. We've also asked FEMA, and they are on the ground with these commodities. They're supplying us with meals, cots, generators, toddler kits, pandemic shelter kits, and everything needed for an interim beginning to get back. So again, we're urging all of those impacted to register, and we will update you periodically. Thank you, Governor.
We continue to work to try to get an estimate of damage. That process is ongoing. Deals with both taking maps of how the tornado moved and overlaying it with PVA and other information. So again, we don't have any figure at this point, but it is enormous. 568 National Guardsmen now supporting our efforts. It includes 79 that are doing search and extraction and fatality search and retrieval. 52 clearing routes in support of the Department of Forestry. I think that's going to grow a little today. 74 military, police, and air security forces on law enforcement augmentation. That's working with sheriffs and others. You want to boost up your law enforcement in towns that don't have any power, where you could have otherwise have looters. We're not going to let that happen. 111 service members on traffic control points, which has been really important, whether that's down lines or otherwise unsafe areas. And with that, I just say, everybody take care of yourselves. I know I've been pretty raw. I finally got sleep, real sleep for the first time last night. It does a lot of good. I'm going to carve out just a little bit of time later this afternoon after being in Muhlenberg County to spend with my kids. Not haven't been able to do that in 3 days. Just spend a couple hours actually trying to be present for them, especially if you've been in these areas or if you've been assisting. Take the time you need to try to help yourself too. A lot of trauma that goes along with it, and we're going to need a lot from people over the coming weeks and months. Remember, for us in Kentucky, we're going to be working to rebuild long after the rest of the country has moved in a different direction. So let's stay strong. All right, moving on to questions. Carolina, you want to start us?
Yeah, Governor, there are reports coming out of some of the employees at the candle factory and whatnot saying that they wanted to leave. They were threatened with being fired if they did leave. Is this something that you guys are going to be looking at? And is it potentially time for Kentucky companies to revisit some tornado protocols?
Well, certainly after seeing a tornado like this, I think we all ought to look back at protocols. Anytime you lose 74 people statewide, let's see what we can do better. And I hope there are things that we can do better, but I think this will end up being an F5 tornado that if you're in the path of it, I'm just not sure how much you can do when you see the destruction it is wrought. I haven't seen any direct accounts from the candle factory itself. That's something that obviously people are going to look at. I hope that they did everything right. If they didn't, then that information will come out. So, Piper.
Thanks, Governor. I'm just going to follow up. So if there are more reports that could reveal more information, is that something that Kentucky OSHA will look into? I understand that the state.
Oh, yes. Yeah, if there are concerning reports either out of the candle factory or elsewhere, absolutely, the state through the appropriate agency will look through it. From a timing standpoint, obviously it's not done the day after or a couple days after, but yes, I mean, everybody is expected to live up to certain standards of both the law of safety and of being decent human beings. And I hope everybody lived up to those standards. Jack Bramer from the Herald Leader.
Yes, Governor, to follow up on the candle factory, I think in Illinois, the Amazon building had collapsed. Can you hear me?
I can hear you.
Yes, Governor, in Illinois, the Amazon factory that collapsed, the federal OSHA investigated that. In Kentucky, I think that's for building collapse, state OSHA investigates. Do you know if the state OSHA is planning to look at what happened at the candle factory?
So state OSHA looks at all fatalities that occur in a workplace. So there will be a level of review that will take months. I saw that report earlier. So we do that as a matter of course. And so, yes, you can expect a state agency to be taking a look. Now, we do this in all of them. So it shouldn't suggest that there was any wrongdoing, but what it should give people confidence in is that we'll get to the bottom of what happened, and once the investigation is complete, to be transparent about it. Tom Latek from Kentucky Today.
Good afternoon, Governor. Two quickies. First of all, any news on your expanded request for the major disaster declaration? And secondly, is there any fear down the road of possible illnesses for those at the candle factory employees and rescuers?
Well, we have health concerns, yes, and we'll have to deal with those as they arise. I know that the rescuers on site were seeking, and I mean, First Light I was there with them, working with them to try to get a list of all the chemicals and everything that was in or around that facility. But yes, we're going to worry about everybody's health going forward. Do we have an update?
Just a slight.
Okay.
So thank you for the question. And again, managing expectations, the way this works. While the significance of the loss of life and the damage far outweighs anything this state has ever seen, the process remains the same. FEMA is looking, both the regional administrator is still on the ground in our state EOC right now. So they're looking at groups of counties that we can include. We've written the administrator letter. The governor has asked for 20 more counties. So they look at the group and they look at the hardest hit in varying degrees. And they will bring additional counties into the declaration in small groups rather than ones or twos, because it's simply a more efficient process. So that's ongoing, but it will not be a daily update on inclusions. Thank you. Okay.
And to be fair to the administration, we asked for that yesterday, I believe.
Yes.
We have received declarations thus far faster than we have ever seen. Debbie Yetter.
Hi, Governor. Sorry to hear about your family's losses in Muhlenberg County. I wondered if you could provide any more information on that situation. Thank you.
Now, this is my uncle who married my dad's sister, who passed away this year too for other causes. He lost two first cousins in the tornado's path. It doesn't seem right how life can hit some people in certain years. He's actually going to go with me to Muhlenberg today to see his family. His brother is okay, thankfully, and as well as other family members. It's hard, especially in that town. So many different people related. So we're going to be there today. Justin Mason. Nope. Okay. Bria Jones.
Hi, Governor. Again, so sorry for the losses that you're experiencing. Can you give us an idea of, you were talking about earlier about the process of clearing out the debris that the tornado has caused. Where is all of that gonna end up going? You know, there's not a lot of space out in Western Kentucky right now for that stuff to go. So how are we transporting those debris out, and where are we gonna end up putting them? And then just to clarify with the candle factory, so either everyone's been found or been accounted for, or are there still people that were there that night that we don't know about what happened to them?
So where we are with the candle factory is that the owners have stated that they have found everybody alive and accounted for, with the exception of 8 that we have confirmed passed away. We are verifying that information. Thus far, information has been accurate. We haven't gotten through all of it. That's one of the reasons we need people to come to that shelter, the ministries that we have set up. So that plus the fact that the canines haven't indicated any other bodies gives us hope that that information is accurate. But thus far, all of our checking also gives us more hope and more confidence that it is. As far as debris removal, there are a number of different options. They're working with our Energy and Environment Cabinet on it. In a disaster like this, you're allowed to reopen certain landfills to move out debris, but it really is a county by county situation. But there are, I don't want to call them emergency powers, they're emergency procedures that are in place that give you a little extra latitude while still trying to do it as well as possible, is to get this stuff up and to get it moved. Karen Czar.
into the year plus range just to do the initial work. So steady state can mean 30 days to whenever. So I will tell you that I will remain here until I am comfortable to brief the governor that we're in good standing, that all of our programs are vibrant, they're staffed well, our FEMA partners and our federal partners are all here to stay. So thank you for that. And I have to, just a brief personal comment. My wife was the first one that knew and told me I was not leaving. We all came to that conclusion very quickly, and the governor and I spoke early on in the aftermath, right at midnight before he signed the declaration. He signed the emergency state of emergency order before the clock turned midnight. So I am here. I'm here for my team. I am here for this team, Kentucky, and most of all, I'm here to help. And it's a massive team effort. Help make us whole again. So thank you.
All right. And finally, Hannah Saad with the Paducah Sun.
Governor, two quick questions. Is the number of missing and unaccounted for Kentuckians, can you give us an update about that number? And also, what are people in Mayfield, what are they being provided in terms of water and resources to electricity?
So the missing is certainly still over 100. And we gave a number yesterday. It's nowhere close to accurate. I mean, it had, what, 5 people unaccounted for in Graves County, and we know it's a lot more than that. So again, work with KSP. If you are missing somebody, it's that same location. We potentially need a DNA sample. And remember, we still have some Kentuckians that we've lost that we have not been able to identify, and other identification information. Folks in Mayfield, I mean, we have food, we have water at almost unprecedented levels that are there for them. In fact, the World Central Kitchen arrived to Western Kentucky on Saturday and started providing meals that day. Today, they're opening 6 sites with food trucks. This will help people that are going through what's left of their homes. They include Hurricanes, which is splitting time between First Baptist Church in Dawson and Landmark in Dawson, and another church. We have a lot of churches in Dawson. We have Just Burgers and Let's Get Fried also in Dawson Springs High School. We have Chicago Jerk in Jennings Creek Elementary School in Bowling Green, Rolling Smoke in East Marshall Baptist Church in Gilbertsville, World Central Food Kitchen Truck in Mayfield Fairgrounds, Infinity Farms is by the Lowe's in Mayfield, and 6 community outreach teams that have crossed the affected path of tornadoes. 10 of their employees are here working with volunteers, 2,000 meals, and they're ramping up. They expect to serve between 1,200 and 1,500 meals today. And just so many folks have sent in so much that as long as we know where people are and as long as they know where to come, we got plenty for them to eat. We can get everybody some clothing. I think we just got a big offer from Nike to supply a ton of shoes. I cannot thank America and the rest of the world enough for everything that they are doing for us. Meeting immediate needs is there, and it's the least we can do. And if it provides a little bit of comfort to somebody looking at what used to be a home filled with pictures and memories, and that they'd probably put up the Christmas tree, it's anything we can do to make their lives a little bit better is well worth it. Okay, just a couple of final updates on some things that we had talked about. An investigation with our occupation safety and health compliance oftentimes is about 6 months. So that'll give some timeline. Areas for storm debris, 9 acres identified in Mayfield, still working on finalizing that with the cabinet. And finally, be careful for scammers. They can impersonate relief or charitable organizations. So give responsibly, give to groups that you know. To avoid becoming a victim, contact your insurance company. Work directly with your adjuster, save your receipts. Ask the insurance company to recommend reputable contractors to assist with repairs. You can go to bbb.org. That's the Better Business Bureau. And be aware of contracts that claim to be FEMA certified. FEMA neither certifies nor endorses private sector contractors. That is a direct sign of fraud. Don't ever pay up front. Do not sign insurance checks over to a contractor. And if you're helping out one of these families, make sure you follow all those guidance too. Let's not allow folks that have been devastated to be taken advantage of. Thank you all. To the folks in Muhlenberg County, I'll see you here in just a little bit. We stand with each and every one of you. And again, thank you to the rest of Kentucky, the rest of this country, and the rest of this world for your love and support.